Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. Today we're going to get an opportunity that I don't normally have. We have a friend that has an UZI. This gun, it's kind of funny. It really got a bad reputation because gangsters and drug dealers, they like the gun. But this gun was actually developed for military use. And it's not just a good gun, it is a great gun. It's the essence of simplicity. When we go to take it apart, you're going to love the way this gun comes apart. It's so easy to work with, and that makes it easy to maintain. Most guns, yeah, you can take certain parts out of it, but this one you can even take the barrel out of it. And I mean, it's easy to take the barrel apart. It's a one button, push the button, rotate a couple things, out it comes. So the gun is really easy to work with. It has a folding stock. It's just a terrific, terrific gun. It has some safety features on it that they're not a new design. They've been around for a long time, but I really like this particular safety feature. This weapon comes with a part on it called a grip safety. Okay, the grip safety is right here. Okay, if you press this grip safety in as you're gripping the gun with your hand, you can pull the trigger. But if this is not depressed, you can't pull the trigger. So it's a really good gun. I'm telling you, it's a very safe gun. It unfortunately got a really bad reputation because some nefarious people kind of misused it. But don't let that throw you off. It's a terrific gun. Okay, as always, the first thing we're going to do is make sure that there's no ammunition in the gun. The magazine stuffs right up through the handle on this gun, and as we can see, there's no magazine in it. Okay, the next thing we have to do is pull the bolt back, which I'm going to try to be able to show you, but I'm not in a strong position. Okay, we pull the bolt back, and you can see into the chamber that there is nothing in the gun. Okay, so, all right, so let's take this guy apart. It's a really difficult gun to get apart. Let me show you how hard this is to get apart. You push this button right here and the whole top of the gun comes off. Pretty tough, right? Now we pull the bolt back, we lift up, and the whole bolt comes right out of the gun. Okay, is this ridiculously hard to get apart or what? Okay, let's talk about taking the barrel off. We press this button here, we unscrew the barrel, or I should say the mock suppressor, and then the barrel just slides right out of the front of the gun. Boy, that was tough. So if we want to clean the barrel from here, okay, we can just grab a hold of the barrel and use our cleaning brush and clean the barrel, which we're going to do. Okay, so it's a really neat gun. It comes apart easy. This thing was designed to be simple so that anybody can work on this thing. If you're out in the field and something goes wrong, it's easy to take it apart. It's easy to use this gun. So I can't stress what a wonderful design this UZI is. Everything is an essence of simplicity on this thing. I mean, you just can't get better. This gun is. We're going to take the firing pin out of the slide, out of the bolt. Watch this. Okay, that's the firing pins out. Like I said, this thing is so hard to take apart. I can't believe how difficult it is. Okay, so your bolt is now disassembled. Now there's a couple of more things you could do, but I'm not going to. You can remove this pin, okay, and you can take this locking piece out if you need to, okay, and I'm pretty sure that also releases the extractor hook, which we're going to try to show you in here. All right, I'm going to have to rotate this light around so you can see it a little better. All right, once I get it focused. This is one of my shortcomings, is having enough light to see what we need to see. Right here is the extractor. Okay, this extractor hooks the rim on the case and pulls it out. Okay. This is it's an exceptionally well-designed gun. It's easy to use. It's comfortable. Okay, when you pull this stock out and you bring this up as a rifle, okay, it's really, really comfortable. It works really well. All right, so we're going to get to cleaning on this thing, which it's not hard. I mean, you've got the barrel sitting here right in your hand, so that makes it pretty easy. All right, so like always, we're going to get our patch and our cleaning solvent. We use a bore cleaner. This one is a surplus military bore cleaner that I bought because it was cheap and there was a lot of it on hand, and I do clean a lot of guns. So we're going to take this little guy right here and we're going to wet that patch. Okay, now anytime I'm working on something that's larger than a pistol, I go ahead and put the cap back on this can. Okay, and the reason why is because when you're working with long objects and they're swinging around, it's easy to knock the can opener or can over. And you know, if you put bore cleaner in your wife's nice light colored carpet, she might have to use the gun on you, which that's never a good thing. All right, so we're going to put in our jag. Okay, now I like to use a jag because I think it works very, very well, especially at wetting the barrel. Okay, now what we mean by wetting the barrel is getting this bore cleaning material throughout the barrel. When you clean your barrel, always try, if you possibly can, to go in from the breech end of the barrel. Okay, that's the end that has the chamber on it. Okay, now we're going to just take this guy, and once you get him started, it'll go, but getting it started is sometimes a little tough. Okay, and we're going to just push it through the barrel, and out it comes. All right. We've got a little bit of stuff on the patch. Now, I make my own patches, and I make them out of what's known as double nap flannel. What double nap means is it has fuzz on both sides of the patch. That makes it reversible, so that I can then use the other side of the patch, and that way I'm sure I've got all of the deposits that are in that barrel wet with bore cleaner. And that will start to dissolve start the process of dissolving those deposits. Okay, get up there. All right, so once we've got it wet, okay, now we're going to use our bore brush. And I'm going to show you something about bore brushes. I've talked about this on all my videos, and I see no reason to stop now. So if you haven't seen my other videos, you wouldn't know this. When you're using a bore brush, okay, and you push it through your barrel, do not go part way down the barrel, stop, and change directions and pull it the other way. And this is the reason why. Because these bristles, okay, as you push it into the barrel, they're going to fold back, okay? And if you then change direction, they have no place to go, so they kink. And when that happens, the brush actually decreases in diameter and does not put enough pressure on the sides of the barrel to clean it properly. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your brush in and go all the way through the barrel, all the way back, okay, till it comes out both ends. Yes, it is a little bit more tenuous to do it that way, but you also get the entire length of the bore brushed, and you got enough pressure on that brush to do a good job. So go through it back and forth several times. All right. After that, we're going to go back to our jag, and we're going to put a dry patch through the bore. All right. So what that dry patch is going to do is everything that we just brushed in that bore is now suspended inside that liquid bore cleaner. So we want to get all that out of there. Now when I push this patch through here, nice white patch, you're going to see there's a lot of junk is going to come out of that barrel. All right. Burned powder, copper jacket deposits, you'll see all of that on these patches. Okay, once we get it started, pushes right through. Okay, a little stiff, but not too bad. And I of course lost the patch, but we can do it again if we have to. Oh, there's the patch. Look at that, it magically reappeared. I can't believe that. I might have used my Jedi powers and used the Force to bring it back up on the table, but nah, not. Okay, as you can see from that patch, we got a lot out of that barrel, all right? So when we look at the back side of the patch, you can also see the liquid is actually soaking through the patch. So you can see that it did a good job. Now we're going to do this a couple of times, all right? Use both sides of the patch, okay? And here's the thing I want to stress. If you don't think you've got the barrel clean enough by putting the wet patch, the brush, and the dry patch through it, you can repeat that process as many times as you need to get that bore nice and clean. Now, somehow I bent something. Okay, I think I bent my jag. That's all right. They're not that expensive. I can replace it. So, that's how we get the bore clean. So, after we've got it good and clean, we're going to take another one of these patches, okay, and we're going to run oil on that patch and oil the inside of that bore. Anytime you have a carbon steel like this, stainless steel will rust, but this rusts a lot faster and a lot worse, okay? So I'm going to try to show you something on the camera here, all right? Now, I've shown this before, but if you look in that barrel, it's very dark. But if I take that white patch and kind of use it like a mirror behind it, you can see through that bore, okay? You can see the difference right there, all right? So this is exactly how I'm going to inspect the bore. I'm going to hold the patch under the light, hold the bore or the barrel in my hand, and look through it. And we can see right down that barrel, and it looks pretty darn good. All right, that looks pretty clean in there. So we're going to go ahead and run the oil patch through it. You want to investigate and make sure you've got all the deposits out of it, because sometimes they can be a little tough. They just don't want to come out very easily. So I like to mount my patch on my jag first, because it just kind of holds onto it for me. Then I'm going to get my oil, and I'm going to just drop a bunch of it on the end of that patch, okay? Get it nice and wetted up. Oh, and of course I'm going to drop some of the oil on the table just because that's fun to clean up. Alright, so we're going to run our patch through the barrel. Now, sometimes these oily patches will actually pick up dirt that you didn't pick up before when you cleaned it with your dry patch. Don't be surprised by this. And if you don't like the way it looks, like I said, repeat the process of putting the wet patch in, doing the brush, and then the oil patch, or the dry patch and then the oil patch. All right. Well, as you can see, more garbage came out of that barrel with the oil. So we're going to go ahead and clean this a couple more times, but I'm going to do that off camera because it just makes the video oppressively long. Okay, so there's not much on this slide. It's pretty darn clean, but we're going to go ahead and clean it up a little bit anyway, just to be sure. Now, I basically use two sizes of patch. One of them is a 30 caliber patch, and the other one is a 22 caliber patch. The 22 caliber patches are really, really small. They're about 1/4 the size of these 30 calibers. So I can simply make the 30 calibers, and if I need 22 patches, I just cut them into 4. Alright, so we're going to wet our patch again. And you can use that bore cleaner to clean everything on this gun. It's not going to hurt it. I've never heard of anybody having any problem with bore cleaner causing any issues with the gun. So now there are, as you can see, there's a little bit of deposit on there that you actually couldn't see with the naked eye. This gun has a finish on it that's called parkerizing, okay? And parkerizing also goes by another name, phosphatizing. And what it does is it coats the gun with a very durable finish. And that's going to aid in preventing rust, okay? And that's what we really want to do, is we want to avoid this thing rusting up. You may find you need an implement to get that patch into all these little cracks and crevices. Don't bear down on it with the screwdriver, because if you do, you will end up scratching that parkerized finish. You want to be careful not to do that. So we just take our time and go easy and don't push it too hard, and we'll get a good clean gun out of it. Alright, so one of the places that you're going to want to pay particular attention to is the bolt face. Now, what is the bolt face? Okay, I'm going to try and show you that. Alright, this area right here is the bolt face. It's just the face of the bolt where it catches the back of the cartridge. And it gets dirt in there, and every time you fire it, that action of that pressure coming onto it actually pushes it into kind of a really hard cake. And so you want to make sure when you clean the gun that you pay particular attention to this area and make sure you get all the crap out of it, okay? And we're going to just keep going a little bit until we get it. All right, so sorry about that. I got out of camera frame a little bit. I'm not trying to keep it a secret, I promise. All right, so, you know, I was a gunsmith for about 40 years, and you'd think I'd know what I was doing, and I do on gunsmithing, but I haven't been making videos for that long, and boy, is it a different world. I'm learning all the time the things that I need to do to keep things in frame, to have enough light on it so you can see it. We're making progress. We're getting better all the time. If you look at some of our earlier videos, some of them are really not good on the light, so we are trying to constantly improve to bring you a better product. That's our goal. We want you to be able to see at an entry level how to maintain your gun, how to keep it clean, how to oil it. And I think we're doing a pretty good job on most of it, but my filmmaking skills had to get better, and they are progressing, but they're not. I'm not perfect yet. Actually, I don't think I'll ever be perfect, but you know. All right, so we're just going to get things cleaned up like we always do, and then we'll reassemble the gun. Which, boy, is it hard to reassemble this gun. 2 buttons and you're done. Put the cap back on that guy again, so my wife doesn't have to kill me later for messing up her carpet. That's my favorite part, is not getting killed by my wife. I don't know if any of you others have that. I just did a show on going to a gun show, and I talked on that video about how when I go to a gun show, I just want to buy all the guns, all the knives. I mean, it's all cool. I want all of it. And if I do that, when I get home, my wife uses all that stuff I bought on me. So I put that in the video, and you would be surprised at how many guys wrote in and went, uh-huh, me too. So we're going to try to avoid making Mama mad if we can avoid that. That's always a good thing. Alright, so we'll get our firing pin nice and cleaned up. There were some deposits here on the end of the firing pin, which again is not uncommon. And that's on all guns, okay? You're going to build up deposits in places. There's just not much you can do about that. So, springs like this are notoriously difficult to clean. They're very hard to clean because this is unitized, and it's very difficult to take it apart without ruining it. So since we don't want to do that, we aren't going to take it apart. We're going to have to pretty much clean it from the outside and let it go at that. But I'm going to use a fresh patch because I don't want to wipe the dirt that I got off of everything else into that spring because it is so hard to clean. So kind of start from ground zero when you're cleaning that spring. Now what I like to do is take my patch and kind of wrap it around the spring, and if you think of the spring like a big bolt, okay, and you crank it, okay, the patch will actually follow the windings of the spring. If I can turn it in the right direction, this way, okay, as you can see, it'll kind of screw itself out, and this is probably the best way I know of to get it as clean as possible. You could immerse this in something like mineral spirits, okay? Don't use gasoline. The reason why I say don't use gasoline is because, as we all know, gasoline can go boom. And we don't like boom if it's not in a coherent direction like downrange. So, on wire springs like this one, okay, we're going to do things a little bit differently. What you can do with that patch is you can fold it diagonally and slip it between the windings, okay? And once you've got it between the windings, you pull the ends together like that, and now you've got the cloth wrapped completely around the spring, and you can crank it through, okay? And that's how you're going to get that spring clean. Okay, the rest of it is just a matter of wiping everything down, getting everything clean. And then we're going to get some dry patches, make sure we've got all the mud off of it. And then we're going to start oiling and putting it back together. Alright, so now this firing pin, you're going to notice when you're working with it that it moves around a little bit, okay? Don't let that throw you. You didn't break it. Alright, now, unfortunately, I have solvent all over my gloves, and I'm putting back on as much as I'm taking off. So, I need to dry up. Okay, most bore cleaners, the primary ingredient actually is mineral spirits, so that's why I would suggest using mineral spirits if you have to immerse any parts. It's going to do a decent job. You might want to take your little toothbrush to it, or your cleaning brush. If you don't have a cleaning brush, use your toothbrush. I said that backwards. But you get the point. Okay, so now I cleaned this internal surface up here, not because it was horrendously dirty, but because if you'll look, there are some lines right on here on the metal that are kind of shiny. All right, that's where the top of the bolt actually slides against the slide, and that movement, anytime you have metal on metal, you're going to get wear. So we want to make sure we get some oil up here. All right, we'd probably be all right just putting a couple of drops on the slide on both ends, and probably be okay with that. Like all guns, you don't want to drown them in oil. Okay, so here in South Florida, we have some issues that the rest of the country doesn't deal with, and that is humidity. A dry day here is 75% humidity, and I'm not joking about that, it really is, and that's an extremely dry day. Most days we hover around 90 to 95% humidity. And with humidity that high, when you take your gun out of your house and you go out into the world with it, okay, what happens? You go from your 75-degree house out into your 95-degree summertime temperature at 90% humidity, and that gun is going to sweat. So what we don't want is for any of that to happen. So there are parts like springs that the wire is kind of thin, so if we start getting rust building up on one of these springs, what can happen? It can break. So we want to make sure we've got them well oiled. In drier climates, it's kind of different, and the reason why is because oil it doesn't attract dust, but it captures dust and it holds it, and it becomes contaminated with it, and it turns into like sludge. So if you're in one of those dry climates like that, you can encounter that issue. Here, our issue is humidity, and that's our big problem. But where you're from, it may be a little different. So we're going to put our gun back together here. Okay, there was a part I forgot to clean, and that is right here. This is what's known as the ramp, okay? The magazine goes up into the magazine well, and as the bolt goes back, it picks up the next round right there and pushes it into the barrel, okay? So when it fires and that bolt comes back, you're going to get all kinds of powder residue and stuff like that builds up in this area. So we need to get that cleaned out. So I'm going to go ahead and wet another patch so I've got enough liquid in there to suspend the materials. Alright, I have to get more patches. I'm running out of the darn things here. So alright, you can see we're trying to get all the way through this tube that's right here that the barrel goes through, if you could see that past my big fat fingers. Alright, so that looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and do the inside of the frame here also to make sure that there's nothing in here. Get out all we can. No sense in not getting it clean. Alright, get up in there, you. Get up in there. There we go. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Alright, I think we got most of it out of there. And that ramp was pretty dirty. And I don't know if you can see it, but you can see that the liquid is kind of shining in here, okay? And that shine lets us know it's good and wet, which is what we want. So rather than go through a bunch more patches, I'm going to use my rag in here because it's a large area. I'm going to try to use that to mop up the additional material that's in there. Okay, alright, that looks pretty good on our ramp. So I am going to work it just a little bit more because it looks like it might be a little carbonized in here. Yeah, it's a little carbonized. So what carbonizing is when you repeatedly fire the gun, any powder residue that gets hit by the front of that bullet that's going up that ramp kind of gets peened into the metal, and it turns it into a very, very hard cake that doesn't want to come out real easy. So you're going to have to work that a little bit. Alright, so let's use our little bronze brush in here if we can get it in there. And we're going to try and get that cleaned up. Oh, that looks so much better. Fantastic. Yeah, it was a little carbonized in there, so I'm glad we did that. Okay, so it's time now to put this back together. Alright, just double check, make sure I got everything here. It looks a little shiny, so we'll get the liquid out of it. There we go. Alright, so let's put her back together. The barrel is very simple. It's got a collar on it that allows us to put it back together. Now, this collar indexes the barrel in a specific position, okay? And you can see there's a corresponding collar right here on the barrel. So we're going to slip our barrel through, line it up, it'll just pop right into place, okay? And now we're going to take our mock suppressor and put that on, and that's going to lock the barrel into position. Okay, now when you get up to the end here, pull that button back rather than let it just ratchet together. I mean, you can do it, but it just puts wear on it that you don't really need to put on it. Make sure it's snugged up, and okay, right there. There we go. All right, so now we're going to put a little oil in a few places here and there. You don't have to drown the gun, so just put a little bit where you see shining metal, all right? When you see shining metal, that means you got metal-to-metal contact. Okay, and unfortunately, this is coming out of here like a fountain. All right, so I think we got that. All right. So everything looks pretty good. Now we're going to do our BC, or bolt carrier, okay? And make sure we've got oil in a couple of places. Where the firing pin goes through the bolt, just put just one light drop in there. Okay, that is enough. You don't need to go much further than that. Run it back and forth a couple times, and you've got it lubricated. Alright, you're going to put a few drops down your spring. Believe me, it will run all over that spring. Same with the other spring. Alright, now one thing that I'm going to do here, after I oil this end of it, so I'm going to take that spring out, turn around the other way, and do the other end of it. Okay, which end was the wet end now that I've dropped it? This way. Okay, so we're going to get both ends of that thing oiled up. And that's enough. Okay, so now we're going to stick it back into the gun like we found it before. It's not hard to get it in. You've got two holes, and you steer those springs right into those holes. Okay, don't you do that. Come back up here, you. Rotate back into position, you stinker. It's messing with me. There we go. Okay. Now this slides back into place, okay, and drops down like that. And once we're dropped in, that's got the bolt locked in. So we've got another shiny spot right here on top of the slide. And I'm just going to put a couple of drops, 4 drops, one on each end of the slide. And then we're going to put the top back on it, and we're going to cycle it a few times to kind of work that oil into place. Look how hard this is to put back together. Wow, wasn't that tough? All right, so now, do I have it? Okay. Okay, that's going to put all that oil into the frame, and we should be ready to go. Okay, so that's your UZI. It's a wonderfully reliable gun. It's a safe gun. It's got a lot of safety features to it. It's hard to go wrong with this gun. When you fold this stock back out into position, okay, this gun just really has a great feel to it, okay? It's a wonderful gun to shoot. It's reliable. How do you go wrong with something like that? Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. If you found this video to be helpful and informative, don't forget to like us, and please subscribe, and by all means come to visit us at askbill1911.com. Also, I want to talk to you about something that's very important to us, and that's your safety. So please, don't try any of the things you see on our videos until you have thoroughly reviewed and understood our safety procedures. If you're under 18 years of age, do not try any of these topics without the express permission of your parent or guardian. Thank you.